What's up, YouTube? NBA Jerry here. My first semester of school is over with. I did pretty well for the most part. I took 5 classes. I got 3 A's, 1 B, and 1 C minus. And the class I got a C minus in, you guessed it, was math. Now, in order to move on to the next course, I had to pass that class. Pass the class with the final. And I talked to you guys about me working hard, and I studied my butt off, man. I studied all weekend, studied Monday, but unfortunately, NBA Jerry did not pass his test. Now, was I upset about it? Yeah, of course. I was. I ended up with a C minus. But the math that I was in last semester, I did not have to repeat it. What happened was my teacher told me that I was good enough to move on to the next course. It's like a mix math between the one that I'm in now of last semester and then the next one coming up. So I'm going to take, instead of 4 credit hours, I'm going to take 6. If I pass it, I'll get credit for the next math. I'll be taking basically 2 math courses, a mixture of both. A review of the last semester's math and then the one coming up, which is good. I actually need that. And that's pretty good. A lot of people, if they were in my position, they probably would have thought they failed because, I did not pass the test. I failed the test. And that's what I want to talk to you guys about today. There's a difference between a temporary defeat and a failure. Just because something doesn't happen good in your life or something, you have a temporary setback or a temporary defeat, does not mean you failed. Failure is only when you accept it to be a failure. Everyone in their lives goes through that. It's called life. Even NBA players and people that's successful, they're going to go through some temporary defeats. And I've talked about this before, but a setback is nothing but a setup for a comeback. You have to have a setback to have a comeback. So guys, don't ever think that because you had a setback or a temporary defeat that you failed. The only time you failed is if you accept it to be a failure. You're not a failure. Everybody goes through defeats, man. Look at Michael Jordan. The guy took 7 years to win his first championship. Now look at him. Greatest basketball player of all time. And that goes for all of you guys, man. Life is strange. It throws you a lot of curveballs. The night before I was taking my final, I had somebody very close to me got admitted to the hospital. That was a rough night. Didn't get a lot of sleep and stuff like that before the test, and that weighed heavy on my mind on the test. But that is not an excuse, and that's not the reason I did not pass the test. That's what, it's just like, man, all this stuff happened. I had to leave the hospital to go take my test. I had to take it, or I would have failed the course. Don't worry about things that happen in your life. They're supposed to happen that way. A temporary defeat. So, you guys got to keep your eyes on the prize, man. Whatever it is in your life, man. I knew coming in to school that I wanted to make sure that I pass all my classes and I want to get my degree. I want to get it. And whatever you guys want to accomplish, you can do it. You just got to focus on it and just keep striving for it. I'm going to tell you guys a quick story. Back probably about 15 years ago, I was living in Virginia. I was a young guy and stuff like that. Very irresponsible young man, to say the least. My electric was getting ready to get cut off at my house. And this was on a Saturday. And then electric company basically told me that you got till 12 o'clock, to pay this bill. Now, I didn't have any money at the time, but I was waiting on a check. But the mailman didn't run to my house until about 4 o'clock. And I knew I needed that check because if I didn't, cash that check, go to the bank, cash that check, and pay the electric bill to the electric company, my electric would have been off all weekend. So I was like, wow, I can't have that, man. So what I did was I called the U.S. mail and asked them, if I can come pick up the check. They said, well, the mailman already left, and he had a lot of routes and stuff. I said, okay, well, where's he going to be at about 10 o'clock? This is about 9:30. And it gave me approximately where he'd be and stuff. So what I did was I jumped in the car and I tried to meet up with the mail truck. And on the way there, guys, I swear, man, only thing that I seen, because I was so focused on the mailman, all I saw was mailboxes. That's all I saw. And anything that was similar to a mail truck, I thought it was that. I was like, no, it's not. And I just focused on mailboxes, because I knew I had to have that check. There was no turning back. So finally, when I got to the destination, I seen the mail truck, and I knew I had to have that check. So what I did was I stopped the mailman. I didn't know him that well. I had just moved to where I was at. He seen me a few times. I walked up to him. I told him my name and where I lived. He says, "Oh, okay." I said, "Well, is there any way that I can get my, my mail real quick?" And he's like, "No." He says, "No, I can't give it to you." I said, "Well, why not?" And he basically explained that, he's got his mail bunched up and he has to sort it out and stuff like that. And he had a real big bag of it. And he says, "I can't just reach in the bag. I got to sort it out and stuff like that." I said, "Oh, okay, I understand that." And I told him my situation. He's like, "Oh, okay, well, I can't do it." And I said, "Well, I don't know what you're planning on doing right now, but before you leave out of here, you're going to give me that, you're going to give me my mail." And I was looking dead serious, and he was like, he was trying to argue back and forth, and we were arguing for 15 minutes, and I was pleading my case, and he knew that I wasn't leaving until I got till I got my mail. I mean, I just wasn't. I was not gonna take no for an answer, and he could see it in my face and the way I was talking and stuff. So finally, he's like, "All right," he broke down, and he opened the mail bag. We sorted through it and found it, and I took off and paid my bill. But the point is this. When you're focused on something, I never realized how this works, but when you're focused on something, you have a refuse to lose or refuse to quit attitude. You can't lose that way. And that mailman knew that he was not leaving that mail that area where he was at until he gave me my check. I mean, I was not taking no for an answer, and that's how you guys got to approach life. Whatever it is that you want to accomplish, whatever it is, you got to keep your mind on it. You got to keep your eye on the prize, man, and keep moving forward towards it. And just because you have a temporary defeat does not mean you failed. Okay? There's going to be a lot of garbage and stuff you're going to go through. You're going to go through it. Remember, I've said this in another video. If you get knocked down, if you can look up, you can get up. And you guys will get up. So if you're going through something right now, it's nothing but a setback. And a setback is a setup for a comeback. And a temporary defeat is only a temporary defeat. And a failure is only a failure if you accept it to be a failure. None of you guys are failures. All right, so keep going to where you want to go. Keep your eyes on the prize, and I guarantee you guys, not only will you get there, but you'll be glad that you went through what you went through to get there. Okay? Thanks, guys. Take care of yourselves. I'll talk to you soon. And don't forget, if you can believe it, you can do it. Thanks for watching. You guys know I appreciate it. And remember, folks, always treat people how you want to be treated, and everything will be okay. This is NBA Jerry, and I'll talk to you soon. Peace.